5 years, that's all it took. 5 years for a wrestling promotion that a lot of people said would never survive its first year, to go from a Vegas ballroom announcement to selling out Wembley Stadium. 5 years to build the #1 alternative to WWE since the days of WCW. 5 years of blood, tears, betrayal, redemption, and moments that made grown adults scream at their TV screens like it was 1998 all over again. This is AEW. And today, we're counting down the 10 greatest moments in company history, the debuts that broke the internet, the matches that broke bodies, and the tributes that broke hearts. Buckle up, because #1 on this list might be the most emotional night professional wrestling has ever produced. Let's get into it. Number 10, Stadium Stampede. May 2020. The world is shut down. No fans, no live crowds, no normal. And every wrestling company on the planet is scrambling to figure out how you even do a wrestling show when nobody's allowed in the building. AEW's answer? Forget the building entirely. At Double or Nothing, 2020, the Elite squared off against the Inner Circle in a cinematic brawl across an entire empty stadium, golf carts, dugouts, a swimming pool, you name it. It was chaotic. It was ridiculous. It was honestly exactly what wrestling fans needed in the middle of a global lockdown. While the rest of the industry was trying to figure out how to survive the pandemic, AEW turned it into one of the most purely fun matches in wrestling history. No crowd? No problem. They made the entire stadium the show. Number 9. Jon Moxley's arrival closes out AEW's very first pay-per-view. Rewind to May 2019. Double or Nothing, AEW's debut show. Chris Jericho has just beaten Kenny Omega in the main event. The show is basically over, and then out of the crowd comes a man the wrestling world thought might never leave WWE. Jon Moxley. He tears through the arena, lays out both Jericho and Omega, and stands tall as the final image of AEW's first ever pay-per-view. In one moment, the entire promotion sent a message. We can get the biggest stars in wrestling, and we are not playing it safe. Moxley would go on to become arguably the single most important wrestler in AEW's 5-year history, and it all started with that walk through the crowd on night 1. Number 8, MJF delivers the greatest promo in AEW history. The 23rd of February, 2022, Dynamite. MJF, the most hated heel in the company, stands in the ring and does something nobody expected. He gets real. He opens up about being bullied as a kid, about how CM Punk and pro wrestling were the only things that got him through it, and about how Punk walking away from the business for 7 years planted a seed of resentment that turned him into the villain everybody loved to hate. The wild part? Fans went digging and found actual receipts on social media backing pieces of this story up. That blur between scripted storyline and real life is what took this promo from great to legendary. For the first time ever, the most hateable heel in AEW made an entire arena feel something for him. That's not just good wrestling, that's great storytelling. Number 7, Cody Rhodes vs. Dustin Rhodes, the match that put AEW on the map. Same night as Moxley's debut, Double or Nothing 2019, but earlier in the card, brother versus brother, Cody Rhodes vs. Dustin Rhodes. This match was bloody, it was violent, it was emotional in a way wrestling rarely is between two guys who actually share blood. And by the time it was over, these two brothers were embracing in the middle of the ring, both of them wrecked, both of them proud. On night 1, before AEW had even proven it could survive, this match told the world exactly what kind of company they were building. No restrictions, no limits. Just raw, honest, brutal wrestling. It set the tone for everything that came after. Number 6. Sting's final match is booked to perfection. March 2024. Revolution. Everybody knows going in, this is it. This is Sting's last match, ever. And somehow, AEW nails the landing. Sting and Darby Allin defend the AEW World Tag Team Championships against the Young Bucks in a match packed with insane bumps, wild spots, and genuine emotion. Sting's own sons come out to honor their father's career and even get physically involved. And in a move that flies in the face of every unwritten rule in wrestling, the legend, the icon, the Stinger, he wins. On his very last night, most retirement matches end in a loss, so the veteran can put someone over. AEW flipped the script. They let a legend go out exactly the way the fans needed to see him go out as a champion, one final time. Number 5. Bryan Danielson's world title win at Wembley is electric. August 2024. All In. Bryan Danielson, a guy who already had one of the greatest title win moments in WWE history, somehow does it again, this time in AEW. The stakes: title versus career. Win the world championship from Swerve Strickland, or walk away from full-time wrestling forever. The match is violent, it's emotional, and the crowd, one of the wildest, loudest crowds in AEW's entire history, is fully locked in for every second of it. In the end, Danielson digs deep, leans on the crowd, leans on his family, leans on whatever's left in the tank, and wins. It's one thing to have a great match. It's another thing entirely to have tens of thousands of people inside a stadium feel like they're part of the outcome. That's what happened at Wembley. Number 4. Hangman Adam Page finally wins the world title, and it's the most satisfying moment in AEW history. This one's a slow burn. For years, Adam Page's story was one of the best told arcs in the entire company. A guy who loses his confidence, turns to the bottle, gets betrayed by the people he trusted most, and slowly, painfully, rebuilds himself with new friends who actually have his back. It all comes to a head at Full Gear 2021, when Page finally gets his shot at former friend Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. After every setback, every heartbreak, every hurdle thrown in his way for years, Page beats Omega and becomes world champion. There are big wins in wrestling, and then there are wins that feel earned. This is the second kind. To this day, it's considered the single most satisfying conclusion to a story and a match in AEW's entire history. Number 3. CM Punk returns to wrestling, and it's an all-timer. August 2021. AEW Rampage, The First Dance. The United Center in Chicago Punk's hometown is packed wall to wall. CM Punk hasn't wrestled in 7 years. For a long time, most fans figured this day would simply never come. And then it does. Punk walks out to a reaction that might genuinely be the loudest pop professional wrestling has ever recorded. He's emotional. He soaks it in. He delivers a heartfelt speech to a crowd that's been waiting the better part of a decade for this exact moment. Now look, everybody knows how messy Punk's AEW run eventually got behind the scenes. That part of the story is complicated, but none of that changes what happened in that building on that night. This moment stands on its own as one of the biggest, purest, most electric returns in wrestling history. Number 2. The final 10 minutes of All Out 2021 might be the most surreal moment wrestling has ever seen. Picture this. It's already AEW's biggest show to date. Kenny Omega just beat Christian Cage in a great main event. The show should be winding down. Instead, Adam Cole shows up, debuts out of nowhere, aligns with the Elite, turns heel on the spot. And then, as if that wasn't enough for one night, Bryan Danielson also debuts, right there at the same moment, fighting off the Elite alongside the babyfaces. 2 separate massive top-tier debuts in the same closing minutes of the same show. This wasn't just a great ending to a great pay-per-view. This felt like the entire landscape of professional wrestling shifting in real time, right in front of the live audience. It's widely considered AEW's greatest show ever, and this closing stretch is exactly why. And number 1, the greatest moment in AEW history isn't a title win, it's not a debut, it's not even a match. It's the Brody Lee tribute show. In December 2020, the wrestling world was rocked by the sudden, tragic passing of Brody Lee, the former AEW TNT champion, and a beloved figure both in and out of the ring. In the face of that tragedy, AEW did something genuinely beautiful. They dedicated an entire episode of Dynamite to honoring him. His faction, the Dark Order, won every single match on the card that night. Brody Lee Jr., his real-life son, shared a touching, unscripted moment with MJF. Eric Rowan made a surprise appearance out of nowhere, and the tribute video that closed the show left almost nobody in the building or watching at home with dry eyes. There was no controversy here, no storyline twist, no shock value, just a wrestling company at its most human, honoring a man who meant something to everyone in that locker room. It's the kind of night you don't forget, and 5 years later, it's still the moment that captures everything AEW can be at its absolute best. 5 years. 10 unforgettable moments. And honestly, that's barely scratching the surface. From cinematic pandemic chaos to career-defining debuts, to a tribute show that reminded everyone why this business matters in the first place. AEW's first 5 years have given wrestling fans a highlight reel that stacks up against any era in the sport's history. The only question now is what they do for an encore.